Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Reeves, and I am one of 30 coaches in Autumn Wind, which is a 30-team Strat-o-matic football league, which has its links dating all the way back to the late 1960s. It's a very, very well-established league with a lot of coaches who've been in this league for quite some time. It is one of the premier Strat-o-matic football leagues in the country with a lot of prestige, and we are getting set to kick off another season here, the 2021 campaign. For those of you who are not familiar, we play with Strat-o-matic football. Strat-o-matic is a board game company in Gledhead, New York. It's most known for its baseball game. It also makes hockey, basketball, and of course, football. And we play the computerized version. I believe the Autumn Wind has been using the computerized version maybe for the last 17, 18 years. And I was fortunate enough to join this league 6 seasons ago. This is my 6th year, and I play with the Los Angeles Rams. This is what they call a keeper league, in which we have drafts annually, and it's the 2021 season, but we play with 2020 version cards. So in other words, the statistics from last season, that's how the cards are manufactured. There's quarterback cards, there's running back cards, wide receiver cards, and then the offensive linemen get ratings, and the defensive players also get ratings. And we'll review some of the other nuances of this league. Every league across the stratosphere is different. And this one plays with a unique set of leagues, but it's a really fun league. There's some very, very nice coaches here and some very talented coaches. And we had a great season last year that basically, let's go over here to the website and take a look here before we get started. If you go to the website, which if you can look up in the upper left-hand corner, if you're new to this and you want to learn more about our league, feel free to click the link above or just Google Autumn Wind Strat-o-matic and you will find it. It's a superior website with lots of information, coaches, statistics. The standings are excellent. Every box score is included. It's well maintained. It's clearing away one of my favorite leagues, and I'm very blessed to be a part of it. So we'll look here at the 2020 Autumn Wind playoffs. And as you can see, we have a wild card, a divisional playoff, conference championships, and then the Super Bowl, which we call the Ooper Bowl, OOPER Bowl. And last year it was won by Dallas over the New England Patriots. And Dallas is coached by Mark LePage, who is one of the premier coaches. I believe he's won the league championship as many times, if not more than everybody else. In fact, he's won 2 of the last leagues and maybe 3 of the last 4. We'll have to look at the statistics on that, but he has won back-to-back championships, and he's put together another good team this year, and will be fighting for a three-peat, as will New England. It looks quite strong. But again, we'll go over all of the teams. But before we do that, let's take a look at the divisional alignment. Blow this up just a little bit here. So we have the AFC and the NFC, just like the NFL. It's a 30-team league with 6 divisions, 5 teams in each league. And all of the team names, the divisional names are named after football coaches. Don Shula, Chuck Noll, Hank Stram in the AFC. And in the NFC, you have Bill Walsh, Papa Bear Hallis, and Vince Lombardi. And in each one of these, 5 teams. If you look at some of the names, you'll notice there's NFL names, there's World League of American Football League names, I believe, arena football teams, CFL, WFL, USFL, even some teams that are defunct. For example, we have the St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Cardinals. We have the St. Louis Rams and the Los Angeles Rams as well. We have the Houston Oilers and we have the Houston Texans. We also have another Cardinals team in Phoenix. We also have 2 Philadelphia teams, the Philadelphia Stars and the Philadelphia Eagles. So just a little bit confusing, but it makes this league unique. It has character. It's not cookie cutter. So that makes it fun. So unfortunately, I've put together this broadcast on a night where I clearly wasn't using my head. I should have perhaps put this together on another night so we could have had more people join us for this broadcast because I picked a night in which the Dodgers and Giants are playing in Game 5. And so I'm losing out some of the audience to that, and I'm losing some of the audience to an NFL night. Unfortunately, I'm just got things to do this weekend, so I wanted to put this together. And so this will be for your viewing and listening enjoyment. I'm not going to track the records for each one of these teams on the fly. Instead, I'll try to figure out a way to put it in the description. So if you want to watch the video, that's fine. If you want to just look at the description and see the records that I'm going to post, that's fine too. I'll also put it on the website. And again, nobody's feelings are being hurt here, hopefully. I'm just judging the teams. And here's basically the way that I'm going to do it. And I'll probably butcher this quote. But Tommy Lasorda, I believe this is how it went. He said, every baseball team is going to win 60 games, and every baseball team is going to lose 60 games. It's what you do with the other 42 that count. So here's how I came up with this. Every team in this league, more likely than not, should win 4 games or get close to it. And every team in this league, more likely than not, will probably lose 4 games. It's what's going to happen in the middle that counts. So I just did some simple math and put together 5 teams with 4 wins, 5 teams with 6 wins, 5 teams with 8 wins, 5 with 10, and 5 with 12. But on the ones in each one of these categories, I gave a team a plus or a minus because I think that some could overachieve from 12 and maybe win 13, and perhaps somebody might not make it to that 12 notch and instead will go with 11. And so it was based on strength of schedule, strength of the division, and just an overall gut feeling. So not every team's going to have 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You'll see some 3s, some 5s, 7s, 9s, 11s, and 13s. So anyway, I was trying to figure out the best way to do this tonight. And a lot of times we'll just go through one by one, Carolina all the way to Tampa Bay. But I think in this case, I'm going to try it this way. Hopefully it'll work. And we'll just cover 3 divisions out of the AFC. And if I'm not sleepy, I'll try to do the NFC tonight too. And again, if anybody comes to join me, I'll check back to the room to see if anybody has joined. But if you'll hit me up on Slack, I'll make sure that you get invited to the chat room, and please join me on the broadcast. So we'll go ahead and cover the AFC first, and we'll go with the SHULA division with the two-time defending champion Dallas Cowboys, as we mentioned, that is coached by Mark LePage. So we will go to the old spreadsheet and take a look and see what we have to see. Now, Drew Brees has been a member of this club for many, many years, and this obviously will be his last card in the set. And Mark was talking about potentially rebuilding, but we all know Mark LePage, and he's not a man that wishes to rebuild. Or basically play for a couple of seasons from now, break down the team, and then build them back up. So on the top rung, you can actually see that he's going to run a 3-4 defense this year, and through some nice trades, he has created a team with a good run and a good pass defense, and that's super important. That is telling everybody that I am here to compete. It's very difficult to compete if you don't at least have one level of defense, be it run or pass, as a good level of defense. You got 2 goods, you're probably headed for the playoffs. So he's made some shrewd moves over the offseason. He's going to go for it this one last year and probably just go for the rebuild next season. So let's take a look at his club here. With Drew Brees at quarterback, he has Mark Ingram, and who had a great card last year, but this year it's going to be pretty pedestrian, along with David Johnson and a couple of scrubs there in Washington and Montgomery. He did make a trade for a deep threat in Emmanuel Sanders. And he also has DJ Chark, who's a fine receiver, along with Cole Beasley. Take a look at his line. So the first column that you're going to see is the run block rating, and the second is the pass block rating. If you're new to the game, 7 is the highest that you can have for a pass block rating. It's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then 0, I believe. And then your pass block rating is 6, 5, 4, and then 0. So if we look at his pass blocking, he has a 4 at center, 2 guards at a 5, and good guys on offensive tackle here, 7 and 7. And he made a trade actually to get a 4-7 and 5 pass blockers. So he's got a pretty decent pass blocking and just so-so as far as run blocking is concerned. He's going to run a 3-4, and across that front line, he's going to have 6 and 5 on the outside with halfway decent pass rush with DeMarcus Lawrence. And he made a trade for Kerry Hyder, who's a 5'10". That's looking pretty nice. And he's got a nose tackle 5. Doesn't have a lot of pass rush from the linebacker standpoint, but he does have a 5 there in the middle and then a 3-4 for the other inside linebacker. So he's got a little bit of run protection there. Take a look at his secondary. So on the boundaries, he has 2 5s, and he made a trade for Harrison Smith at strong safety, who is a 6'5", a 5'5", and he already had Justin Simmons as a 6'5", so his secondary has 21 points. So that is a high-quality secondary. He has a slot 4. So also of note is Kyle Van Noy, an outside linebacker that he made a trade for, who's a 4-4, but if you look at that pass rush, he's got a 9. So he needed to make a lot of trades over the offseason, and he's going to bank on Drew Brees, who has a quality card. It's not one of his best, but it's a quality card. So I think this team is going to fare actually awfully good, and I believe that they're going to be back in the mix again. And so this is one of those clubs that I put at 12 wins. So in the SHULA division, I have him capturing the division with 12 wins. And now we'll move on to the Grand Rapids Rampage. Now, we juggle the teams in these divisions. I'm sorry, I'm a little unclear on exactly how they juggle them or the criteria on them. But for example, Grand Rapids was in my division last year. And if I recall, they made the playoffs. Let's see. Oh, I thought they did. I was for sure they did. Oh, there they are. Yeah, they were a wild card team that actually was beaten by the New York Giants, which is coached by Joe Golden. And the Giants were one of 3 expansion franchises who joined our league last year. Grand Rapids is coached by Dave Malt, who is a 16-year veteran of Autumn Wind. So let's take a look at his club and see what we can see here. So he's got Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, who's trying to, of course, hold off that rookie that's joined their team this year, who San Francisco basically gave up the farm to get. We'll see if he's any good. But I think these rookie quarterbacks actually are judged harshly way too early. But it's going to be Garoppolo's team this year as long as he stays healthy. But Garoppolo does have a hard time staying on the field. His backs are Dalvin Cook. So there's his 1-2 punch, basically, is Dalvin Cook and Jimmy Garoppolo. So Garoppolo doesn't have one of his better cards, but he's going to be helped out by a club with some very good wide receivers in Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans, who is elite. So I want to slide over here and take a look at this. So the nice thing about this spreadsheet, it actually will give you how strong they are across 3 levels. And 6 is the max for a flat pass, which is just basically a quick look-in pass, a 5 to 10 yard pass. Short pass is anywhere between 10 and 20 yards. And for some elites, you can get a long gain off of that. And the long pass, 25 yards and above. So he has 2 receivers who actually are strong in long pass, and that's Godwin and Evans. And Michael Thomas, who is more of a possession receiver, flat pass and short pass. He's not very good long, but I would imagine we'll see a lot of 3 wide sets with this club. He also has, from the tight end perspective, he has who would be his tight end there? Maybe Dalton Schultz. Yeah, I guess it'd be Dalton Schultz. He had 63 catches. He's the real life Dallas Cowboy tight end. Let's look at his line. So he's got a really good center at 5'7". He's got a good a run blocking guard. And he's got a guy that's a 0-4, so he'll see how you'll manipulate that. There's a little bit of a hole there at a 2. His tackle, he's got a 6'7". That's great. He's got a 4'4", and that's just adequate. So that's a little bit better than an average line. He plays a 4-3, and here's another club that's good. So this is a club that's definitely built to compete. If you see these names are in purple, these are trades that were made before the season. If you see red names, those were draftees. Our draft was in September. And he's going to play a 4-3, so it looks like he's going to have Punta Ford, who's a 5 up front, along with it could be any one of those 4, probably that Malyabuke from Baltimore. His defensive ends are a 6 and a 4. Not much pass rush there, just a little bit there from DeMont Jones, who's a 4-7. Although he does have a 5-5, so maybe he'll replace him in passing situations. That's Dexter Lawrence, along with Calais Campbell, the real-life Jacksonville Jaguar. In the middle, he has one of the most elite of inside linebackers. That's Levante Davis. And so he's chosen to go 4-3, and so he's got a couple of outside linebackers that have 4 for stopping the pass, but 3 for stopping the run. So he'll probably make some switches as need be. Let's look at that secondary. So he's got a free safety 6. He's got a couple of other safeties, and I assume he will play Thornhill at strong safety, who's a 4-4. And his boundary corners include a 5, and that is Jamal Dean from Tampa Bay. And he made a trade for Steven Nelson, who is a 4. And he has a couple of slot corner 5s, and he'll use one of those as an extra defensive back. When you have Garoppolo, I think you're going to be slightly offensively challenged, but this is a good club defensively. So this will be a better than average team. And I have predicted this club to win 10 games, and they should be in the playoffs. I don't have them with a minus. I have them at a solid 10. I have Dallas as a 12 with a minus, so I could see them potentially with 11. And again, I'll put the final predictions in the write-up here when we finish. We're just going to go over all these teams as fast as we can. So now let's switch gears and head out to sunny Southern California, and we will look at the sun. But we won't look too long at the sun because you'll burn your retinas. I'll be here all week, everybody. Okay, so Southern California, let's see. Southern California, that is Jim Riley. And again, another guy who has been in this league for quite some time, 16 seasons, in fact. There we go. All right. So this is a 4-3 defense, average, and we'll look at the defensive roster here in just a little bit. But let's start first things first with the quarterback. Now, he made an interesting move in the offseason and traded a first-rounder for Gardner Minshew, who, when you think about it on the surface, a first-round pick, why would you do that? Well, Minshew actually has a pretty solid card in this set. And if Jalen Hurts begins to struggle, it's very possible that Philadelphia will pull the plug. He was dealt to Philadelphia when Jacksonville, the real-life Jaguars, picked up Trevor Lawrence. And so he became expendable. I think he has a lot of skills, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him. And here's the thing. Even if you get 100 attempts, you are carded. So maybe he comes in, Hurts is, injured, and he catches lightning in a bottle and has a 3 or 4 game streak that he puts together a really good card. So I think it's worth it. I don't disagree with that trade whatsoever. I don't think that was too much of a price to pay for a potential starting quarterback. His run game, that's Kenyon Drake and Kerryon Johnson, who really flamed out, unfortunately, with Detroit. And don't even know that he's on a roster right now, maybe a practice squad roster. So Kenyon Drake is going to be the main running back for this team. He almost gained 1,000 yards last year. He only has 4 yards a carry. Just a so-so card. So Minshew's going to have his work cut out for him. This team is going to be slightly offensively challenged. He did make a nice pickup in the draft, even though Travis Fulgham has bounced around from practice squad to practice squad. I thought that was a nice bargain in the 7th round, considering he is a valued at a 5. I'm sorry, I pressed the button here and I closed out on the wrong team. Here we go. He's a 5 across. Did I get the right team? There he is. As you can see, he's a 5 across the middle and 4 deep. So that's pretty valuable to get for a 7th round selection and a 14-yard per catch average. He's not the best receiver on this team. Obviously, that's Stephon Diggs, who plays for the real-life Buffalo Bills. But beyond that, some pretty average wide receivers. If we look at tight end, he has one of the most elite tight ends in Darren Walter, one of the top 5, absolutely. 107 catches last year. So good, not great offense, above average, obviously. We'll look at his line. His line does have a little bit of problems. He has a center that's a pass block 0. That could present a problem. 4 is at guard, run blocking. 1's a 5, so you can position that second guard in a way that it won't do too much damage. What's going to be a problem for this club, though, is if he runs into some edge rushing defensive ends, he's going to have a lot of problems, basically. I would assume that he's going to start Matt Pryor, who's a 4-0, or he may just go with 0-0 on the end and go with Hill and Knight, who's a 0-3. Not exactly sure how he's going to manage that. So Garoppolo is going to be running for his life. This is a 4-3 team with an average defense, 4-3. Grady Jarrett, one of the best in the league. There's your 6'5", and he has been paired up with Mike Pennell, who was picked up in a trade, basically just a 4-0. He's a space eater. Defensive end, he has an elite one, maybe one of the best in the game, at Aaron Donald, who's a 6 with a 12 *2. So in other words, he's going to be a top flight defensive end pass rusher. And in situations where an asterisk is resulting, he'll get a chance to rush the quarterback there as well. So you can't get better than Aaron Donald. And he also made a trade for I'll never get that name right, Autry, with the Indianapolis Colts now. I'm not sure what team he's playing for currently, but he's an underrated pass rusher. And in some cases, he's really more of a defensive tackle than a defensive end. But here he is a defensive end, so you've got a 9 on the outside. So he's got good pass rush there. He doesn't really have a lot of pass rush at outside linebacker. You see Nicholas Morrow there with a 5'3". That's pretty nice. And another outside linebacker, Bobby Okereke, who we drafted last year, who is another 5'3". So that's pretty solid. He doesn't look like... Well, there it is. So I guess he's going to play one of those generic linebackers at middle linebacker. And that was actually a trade. So it looks like Kevin... Who is that? Kevin Minter. His secondary. So he's got a boundary corner 5 in Rashad Breeland. And he has a slot corner 5 in Jonathan Jones. And his other boundary corner, could it potentially be a 0? It looks like it will be. So I guess he will... Well, I guess he could go with anybody there. Basically, at corner, it's going to wind up being a 0. So I'm not sure who will play there. He has Amos at strong safety, the real-life Chicago Bear, and Trey Boston at free, who's a 4-6. So that leads to your average defense. So this looks like a club to me that probably is... They won't struggle to score points, but they'll struggle to keep their opponent from scoring points. Again, average defense, slightly better than average offense. I have predicted Southern California to win 8, but I have a plus, so I could see them potentially winning 9. I'll post the final prediction um, after this broadcast. So the fourth member of the SHULA division, that would be the Philadelphia Stars. So that's right next to, there we go. Now, Philadelphia is one of the 3 newest franchises to join, and the Stars are coached by Joe Daly, who is in some other leagues as well. One thing I want to check here before we go on, I didn't give credit to make sure that Southern California, I believe, was pretty close last year to making the playoffs, but didn't wind up there. Philadelphia Stars was an expansion franchise, took their lumps a little bit last year, but I thought they drafted well this year. We'll take a look at some of the picks that they made. They didn't go after the low-hanging fruit. I thought they drafted well, especially you can look to see there they've got a franchise offensive tackle in Wills at Cleveland. And with their second rounder, they picked another offensive tackle. So he's going to try to build from the ground up. That's a good move. You know, they really can't make a lot of trades. I don't think they can make any trades actually in their first year. So you have to sit there and learn on the fly. And then come second year, you can start making trades. And as you can see, he didn't make a lot of trades. It doesn't look like he made any actually. So, well, he did make one. He did trade for a quarterback because he just needed a space eater quarterback. But other than that, he just basically is going to build through the draft. So Joe Daly will start with Carson Wentz, who has now become a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, and he's hoping for better things in Indianapolis again if he can stay healthy. His lead running back is going to be Devin Singletary, who has a great card this year, so he should have a lot of fun playing with Devin. It looks like the future is going to be bright for him. His lead wideout, Galladay, sure, that works. Michael Gallup, another quality receiver. And Robert Woods, too. So I like his wide receiver set a great deal. He was trying to deal Woods, actually, toward the end of the year. Tight ends, nothing really there to get too excited about. All right, so let's take a look at his line. He's got a 4-7 center. At guard, he has a 4-3. He doesn't have anybody else listed as guard, but he has some guards who can play other positions, so it's hard to see who he's going to put there. Tackle, he'll start with Willis and Jonah Williams, so he'll have a 4, probably that 4-0 at that other guard. That guy that he drafted there, it looks like. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be him, Jordan Mailata, who, what a great pick there. What an excellent pick there. Very smart pick for Philadelphia Stars. He got him in the 3rd round, and Philadelphia loves him so much, they've already locked him up long term. So, you know, next year he's going to wind up having 3 offensive tackles. And if all 3 of them turn out to be solid, he should be able to get some good stuff for that. So really, really smart pickup, Joe. Let's look at defense. 4-3. You know, this is a team that's going to build through the draft. So it's going to take them a while. This team is going to take their lumps this year when you have a very poor defense. I was in the league. I've been in the league for 6 years, and I've run into this situation in my first year where I had a very poor, and you can guess all you want, but unless you move guys in the zone, you're just going to get tattooed on every run that goes up the middle. Basically, you could write it down that if you don't put somebody there to help you on that 4-3, move that middle linebacker in, then you can get blistered basically at 10 yards a carry. So it's going to be hard competing for him this year. Nothing really stands out. You know, one interesting thing is Hargrave actually is off to a great start this year in the real-life NFL, so that should be fun to see what he's going to do next year. He's playing for Philadelphia this season. Defensive ends, nothing really there. Hitting the wrong button. Nothing really there to get too excited about. He does have an average pass defense. Maybe he's got something good going on here in the secondary. Yeah, he does. Look at that. He's got Micah Fitzpatrick with the Steelers. He did make a trade for Woods. He does have a corner 4. Does he have a defensive back 4? No, so he'll be playing with a 0 on the outside corner. But he was able to snag an average pass defense, and maybe that had something to do with the fact that he's got a halfway decent linebacker over there, Shaq Thompson. He must have just eked in with an average pass defense. So, offensively, this club is going to be challenged. Defensively, they're very, very much going to be challenged. I have them at 4 wins, but I've given them a plus because I do like that combination with the running back quarterback combination. He does have good wide receivers. The issue is going to be whether or not Wentz can stay upright. I've seen worse blocking lines, but this one isn't great. So I've given Joe Daly a 4 with a potential to win 5. So let's go to the last team in the SHULA division. And that's the St. Louis Rams. And the Rams are coached by Gary Nagata, who's one of the longest tenured coaches in this league. And they definitely took their lumps last year, and they wound up getting a solid draft pick early and chose Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts. And he has a fantastic running card, probably top 5 in the set this year. And so his 1-2 punch is going to consist of Ben Roethlisberger, who looks like he's on his last leg in Pittsburgh. It does not look like he's sailing into that good night. He's really struggling, and one wonders if he's going to finish the season as the Steelers quarterback, but that's who he's going to roll with this year. So hopefully, he's going to be able to maintain several good years from Jonathan Taylor so that he can pair him with a quarterback and really make some noise. Let's see, from a wide receiver's perspective, what does he have? Yeah, he's got some pretty average receivers there. Deebo Samuel will have a down year, but he looks pretty solid this year, so hopefully he'll make a comeback. Hunter Renfrow looks like he's got a lot of third wide receivers on this club. So, he's got some work to do. Got some work to do in the draft. Offensive line, he's got a good center, 4'5". Got a really good guard, Wyatt Teller. And he drafted a guard, Jonah Jackson, so he's building that way. He also picked up an offensive tackle, Joshua Jones, who graded out very, very well. I was hoping that he would fall to me in that 6th round, but he did not, so that's an excellent pickup. His offensive tackles, they're not that bad. Mike McGlinchey, 6'5", and he has a 0.5 in Okafor. There's a 0.4 in Cam Robinson. He's young. Maybe he turns into something. Nose tackle. Let's see. This is a 3-4 team whose run defense is average and pass defense is poor. So I guess he picked up Cowart to play nose tackle in his 3-4. Defensive end, he has one of the most elite young talents in the league in Myles Garrett, so 6'12". So he'll be a handful. He also has another good pass rusher in Chase Vinovich with the New England Patriots. You got that 10 outside linebacker, but he's going to play threes pretty much across the board with the exception of Ben Neiman, who I never hear anything about in Minnesota yet. I look on PFF, and there he is year after year. I remember the first time he was introduced to this league, and we were going over the ratings 3 years ago, and Tom Cook was rattling his brain trying to figure out who in the world Ben Neiman was. But apparently he's still in the league. You look there as far as nothing really scares you in the secondary, which, again, our defenses are excellent, good, average, poor, and very poor. So on a scale of 1 to 5, this is only a 2. So they're going to have some really tough times with the elite teams, but they do have a good pass rush. I think this is going to be another struggling year for this club. But looking at the division, I've actually given them 6 wins, but I do have a minus, so I could potentially seeing them winning 5. So I think we'll go back and forth between the Philadelphia Stars to see which one of these clubs, St. Louis and Philadelphia, can stay out of the basement. So we're still in the AFC, and let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seattle Seahawks are coached by Dennis Crowley. So Dennis Crowley and his club did make the playoffs here last season. And they actually received I believe they received a bye. Yes, they did. They received a bye. So they got to sit it out until the divisional playoffs rolled, and they defeated the New York Giants in their first round. And then they were beaten by the eventual league champion Dallas Cowboys 16-3. They're in the conference championship. So let's see what Seattle did in the offseason. But before we go on, I believe the Duke is in the studio. Hey, Duke, are you there? Duke, if you turn your mic on, you're more than welcome to join if you'd like. But he might be listening to the game, and I'll just let him know if you want to pipe in. Duke is the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll be covering their team here a little bit later. But we'll first focus on Seattle. Now, we are moving on to the NOLL division, so let's show off that division here real quick. So there's your SHULA division. We just covered the Dallas Cowboys, who I predicted with 10 wins, Grand Rapids with 10, Southern California with 6, Southern California with 8, with a potential for 9, St. Louis Rams with 6 or 5, Philadelphia Stars with 4, with a potential for 5. Again, I'll have the final predictions in the write-up. Now let's go to the NOLL division, and this includes the Seattle Seahawks, the New York Giants, the Montreal Alouettes, Detroit Lions, and the Oklahoma Outlaws. Now, if we look, we see several of those clubs did wind up making the playoffs last year. So this is not going to be an easy task for any of these clubs to walk away with the title. So let's hop to it. Seattle Seahawks, coached by Dennis Crowley, one of the most elite coaches across the stratosphere. He's in a number, it's crazy to say that he's in a number of leagues. He's in a ton of leagues. And if you're new to this game and you're just watching this or listening to this podcast, you might want to look him up on the internet, because he and Tom Cook are two of the best broadcasters as well. And if you're new to this game and you want to learn how to play the game, both of them have libraries full of broadcasts, and that's how you learn. You learn by playing, and you learn by watching the best. And we broadcast a lot of these playoff games. So if you're wanting to learn how to get good at this game, it not only takes playing, but really to get nuanced about the fine rules of each one of these. Look at those broadcasts, and they'll give you hints and pointers and tips, and that's how you get good. One of the hallmarks of every Dennis Crowley team, it wouldn't be a Dennis Crowley team if it didn't have Russell Wilson, and there is Russell Wilson. And so he's probably going to go by running back by committee. He has 3 running backs with 100 carries each. Probably the feature back, I guess, would be Mostert, but he did pick up Zach Moss, who has an interesting card, actually. Kind of a strange, chunky card. And Philip Lindsay's card. I've seen his. It's just okay. Wide receivers, didn't really make any trades. He has 1 deep threat in Deshaun Jackson, the ageless Deshaun Jackson. Some pretty average wide receivers there. Tight ends, Nothing really to brag about there. Look at his line. 5'7" center. You've got a guard at 5'3" and another guard at 4'4". Got an off tackle 6'7". That was a trade. David Bakhtiari. Nice trade there with New Orleans Voodoo, who's not going for it this year. And he already had Riley Reef with a 4'5". So that's a better than average, certainly a better than average pass blocking. And probably in this day and age, it's actually probably better than average run blocking. He's going to go 4'3", average. So when you see that, you're hoping for a little bit of pass rush, and he does have that in Brandon Graham, who is an asterisk pass rusher. He's a 12 with an extra little rating of a 1. He's going to go 4'3", so he's got a couple of defensive tackles up front. He got one in a trade, actually. Grover Stewart, who is a 5, and he'll play one of those 4s. I assume the one with the pass rush there, probably Jaleel Jackson. Defensive ends, there's your 6. And he also made a trade for Jerry Hughes, who's a 4'5". His inside linebacker is Bobby Wagner, elite, 6'6". Made a trade to get a 4 on the outside in Todd Davis, and he'll also play, looks like, I guess he'll play Downs, who's a 4'3", actually a 4'0", but 4'3" for our purposes. Secondary, boundary corners, 4 and 4, and he made trades for both of them. Lots of purple on this screen, right? He made a lot of trades. In fact, his entire secondary was flushed out, and it's all brand new. 4, 4, 4, 4. So 4s are wild, and his slot corner, which he picked up in the draft, is a 4. So everything stems on the season that Russell Wilson is going to have. But also, too, this is one of the elite coaches in the league. So on the surface, you would look at this club and think maybe 10-6, but knowing Dennis Crowley and the coaching skills that he has, I can't help it. I'm going to put him down for 12. And we'll see if he proves me wrong. I doubt it. So let's head to the second team. We'll go to the New York Giants, which was one of 3 new franchises that joined last year, but the New York Giants head coach is no stranger to leagues. He's in a lot of them. In fact, Joe Golden, really good guy. He will be in his second year. So this year he could make some trades. So we'll see if we see some purple on this screen. Not a lot. I think he was really just more interested. I did make a trade with him, actually. It wasn't one of too much consequence, though. So he's going to go with Sam Darnold, who looks like he's playing a little bit better in Carolina. He was a franchise quarterback that was turning into a bust. I'm not sure that he's ever going to be elite, but maybe he can finish somewhere in the top 15. He does look pretty good in Carolina. Running backs. Didn't really pick up anybody in the draft. I'm assuming that, well, it's really hard to say who his lead back is going to be. Really, it's going to be running back by committee, apparently, because he's got a lot of low usage running backs. His wideouts, got one of the best there in A.J. Brown. And Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, so that's looking pretty good. Tight ends, he actually took a third rounder there on Adam Troutman, who's with New Orleans. We heard a lot of good press about him in the offseason. A lot of people were very, very high on him. His line, nothing special at center. Austin Corbett's got a 5'5". That looks pretty nice. Offensive tackles, just average there. So we look at that 4-3 defense. He's got an average run and a poor pass. So that usually is the mark of a rebuilding team. Get that defensive tackle 6. That's nice. Defensive ends. You don't see a lot of pressure on this team. So you got your 4 outsiders. And then he'll have a 0 on the outside a 0 on the inside along with that 6. Pretty decent linebacker crew, actually. Although he's going to run with a 4-3, so maybe he's going to move Phillips to strong safety. possibly. Or maybe he's going to be an extra defensive back. He doesn't really need him because he has a 5'4" inside. His first pick was Willie Gay with Kansas City, and his second pick was Alex Highsmith. So he's looking to get help there at outside linebacker. If we look at his boundary corners, he's got a 4 and a 3. He made a trade for a slot corner 4 with me. And he has a free safety and strong safety. Eddie Jackson is better than a 4-4, so hopefully he'll get a bounce back year. It's very difficult to compete with a poor defense, so right away you're pretty much behind the 8 ball. I may be thinking this club is going to overachieve just a tad at 6 wins, but that's what I've given Joe Golden. I've given him 6 wins. So let's take off to Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And this is the Montreal Alouettes, named after the CFL club. And this is Claude Turcotte. And he is also one of the guys that have been in this league for quite some time, 16 years. In fact, I just got a message that we have a gentleman backstage. Let's invite another one. So now we have Nathan Baylor on board. Nathan, how you doing this evening?
How's it going?
All right, buddy. I'm doing great. Thank you. Trying to do this as fast as I can. I don't think there's any way to do this fast. You could either do it basically from Carolina to Tampa, but instead I've kind of chosen to do it divisions. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get through the entire one tonight. I'm trying to do it as fast as I can. I'm basically doing it by division, and
not a bad way to go in this league.
We're trying to. Yeah. So let's see where I am here. So Montreal. So basically I'm about 8 deep into the NOLL division, and then we'll do Detroit, and then we'll do Oklahoma. So Claude Turcotte, let's take a look and see what he did last year with Montreal. Can't quite remember if that club made the playoffs or not. No, doesn't appear that he made the playoffs. All right, so let's take a look at this club. So he's got Ryan Tannehill, who had a really solid card last year. This year, it's top 15. And for his first round draft pick, he chose Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back from Kansas City. So that will be his feature back, although he does have a secondary running back in Jamal Williams, who is playing so-so for Detroit this year.
Austin Scott's actually a pretty good runner in this set too, I think.
Yeah, did he have another good card this year too? Because I know his card last year was pretty solid.
I'm pretty sure he's got one this year. I could be wrong on that, but.
So let's look at his wide receivers here. I'm so used to working an iPad. When I start working with a PC, it becomes a little messy. So he actually has some pretty decent talent deep. He's got 3 guys who are pretty solid deep. His 2 main wide receivers, Amari Cooper and Allen Robinson. You also have Preston Williams, who's a good deep threat as well. So he's got a pretty solid wide receiver crew. And from tight end, Kyle Rudolph. And I mean, I guess you have to throw Dan Arnold in there. If you're traded for C.J. Henderson, you have to be pretty good, or maybe not.
I think he's a pretty decent player.
Yeah. Good young talent in center there is 6'7". Let's look at the rest of his line. 6'5". Wow, his offensive line looks really good. How often do you see 4 6s across an offensive line in the modern day NFL? You don't see that very often.
In a 30-team league.
No, that's a concerted effort basically to get better. So that's going to help out that running back crew for sure. And he's also got 3 pass defenders as well. And one of those offensive guards is a 6'5". So Tannehill is going to stay upright pretty consistently this year. He has a good run defense and an average pass defense. And he's got Buckner there at defensive tackle, so I guess he'll slide over to nose tackle, and don't see that very often from a defensive tackle, an 11 pass rusher. That's a fantastic thing to have. Nothing really special there from defensive end. No pressure off the bench either. Zach Cunningham got some nice pass rush from the outside, actually, 2 of them, and guys that you can keep on the field every play. These aren't guys that are just third down players in Judon and Jason Pierre-Paul. So they'll never leave the field. He's got boundary corner 6, boundary corner 5. Free safeties, just average basically there in Von Bell. And Byard, who had a down year for Tennessee. So hopefully we can see a back season from him, and a slot corner 5. Anything that you can see, Nathan, that kind of sticks out to you?
Really good pass rush from those 3 players. It's too bad he doesn't have a little more at the end, but got good coverage at the corners, and he should be able to blitz quite a bit, get some good pressure.
Yeah, I like this club. This club is going to be a playoff team this year. I don't know how much of the broadcast you've had, Nathan, but I really dumbed this down for my purposes. Basically, I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, I basically categorized it this way. I had teams at 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And this is a 30-team league, so I put 6 at 4, 6 at 6, 6 at 8, 6 at 10, 6 and 12. And I put a plus or minus by some of these teams to say, maybe this is an 11-win team. Maybe this is a 13-win team. I've got this one pegged for 10 plus, so I'll put a final prediction out, but I'm looking at this club as maybe an 11-win team.
Yeah, I think of his running back cards. If I'm right about Boston, Scott, I think his Jamal Williams had a pretty good card too, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with good running back, good quarterback, good line. He's got, especially 30-man league. I mean, just being decent. He's decent plus everywhere, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. If he had Tannehill's card from last year, I'd say this team would be 12, 13 wins. Tannehill's card was fantastic last year. This year was just okay. I mean, it's not bad, but it should be okay. So got a couple teams here left. Let's go, since it's easier to get there, we'll go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma Outlaws. Let's see, coached by Sean Riley. Been a member of this league for 11 seasons. We'll go over the defense here in just a little bit, but we see average poor. He runs a 4-3. So we got Lamar Jackson under center. So his 1-2 combination will be Lamar Jackson and Josh Jacobs. I don't think Jacobs' card was as good this year as it was last year.
Yeah, I think Jackson's way down there this year.
Yeah. So that's going to be, might be a little bit of a struggle for him offensively. But it helps if you've got some good wideouts to throw to, and his wideouts actually are not great at all. Yeah, he's going to have a hard time with those wideouts. They're not going to give Lamar, do any favors for him whatsoever. Let's see if he has a good offensive line that he can run the ball maybe just a little bit more. I keep pressing the wrong button here and moving the handle over. So we've got a 5-4. That's a plus. Got another 5 there. And a 4. And then from the tackle perspective, 5-7. That's good. He's got a better than average offensive line. And there's Wirfs. That's who he spent his 9th pick on.
That's a good pick.
Good pick. Good pick. And then picked up another tackle in Brewer. So I guess that's who he's going to go with, basically a 4-2. So hopefully we won't run into too many edge rushers that are going to give him trouble. Average run defense, poor pass defense. This is not a team that's going to be competing for the playoffs, but looks like he did make a few moves here. Some trades basically to shore up that offensive line. Frank Clark at defensive end. Not the pass rush that you usually see from him, but he does have an 8. And I've just pressed the wrong button. Back here to Oklahoma. Here we go. Let's see what he's got Obviously, his corners must be a mess. So, well, they're not too awful bad. 4-4, free safety, strong safety.
One
That
of
was his other pick was Winfield.
those corners is a slot, so he's going to be a 4 and a 0. Sorry.
You're correct. Yeah, so that, I mean, it's just very difficult to
It's
do
probably
much
not
of
that
anything.
uncommon. I mean, I have only seen you going since a couple teams now, since the end of Seahawks, but there definitely aren't enough corners to go around this year.
No, I noticed that. You could, those who had excess had, probably overpriced them just a little bit.
I'm starting
Yes.
those in Strat 28, maybe 2 of them, at least one at corner.
Yeah, I did something on that where basically it's almost like the zeros outpaced the fours. It was really close. I mean, it was so close that basically you knew that there were going to be some clubs that were going to struggle with that. If you're going for the season, you make the moves. If you're not, you're not.
There aren't enough to go around, and if anyone's got a 4 that they're going to use as a slot, they don't want to trade it, or if they trade it, they want more than what you would
It's
probably
worth.
reasonably want to pay. So yeah,
Correct. That's right.
that's how it works.
So really, just Oklahoma's just basically looking to the future. But I like Winfield. I like Bryce Hall. There's your second round pick, and not going to be any noise this year. Let's be honest. But
It's a good move picking up Wirfs, for
yes,
Lamar Jackson going forward. You're going to want, because that's one of the few ways people are going to try to attack him is pass rush. So
right.
going forward,
He just needs more talent around Lamar. So I have him at 6, but I have a minus next to it. So basically, I've predicted him for 5 wins on the season. And the last team in this division is Detroit. So let's go head to Detroit. And they are coached by Paul Power. And this is another club that's just going to continue to work through the draft. As we can see, that poor pass defense tells us he's probably not playing for this year. But maybe he can find his way to a 500 club because he does have some. Yeah, exactly. He does have some. And I'm sure that was a dilemma for him on what exactly to do with him. I'm sure he fielded a lot of inquiries, but if I had to bet, I'd say what he was getting for it wasn't nearly worth the hassle. And he decided to hold on to him to see, maybe he'll get a chance to play next year, but it doesn't look like he's going to see the field this year. He's too much of a talent just to give away. And without the ability to pair that with a future number one, I think that most clubs would expect 2 number ones, and you really just can't get that unless you can get 2 number ones this year after somebody has traded for him. So he must not have gotten offers that he wanted, or basically just declined. So nice 1-2 punch in Antonio Gibson, who has a great new card this year. He was picked 10th along with Deshaun Watson. So that's a nice 1-2 punch. So they'll be a tough out. Let's see what they look like here. Juju Smith-Schuster, who just cannot stay healthy now. I guess he would be the lead wide receiver, although you do have another one that they drafted there. That's it, T. Higgins.
Nelson Aguilar probably has a lot of yards on his card since I've got him there.
Yep, you've got a deep threat. Could see a lot of 3 wide with this club. Let's see, tight ends. What might have been with David Njoku.
I got a big gain the other day. Like a 76-yard touchdown.
Yeah. All right.
Might be good for him next year.
Might help him next year. You're right. His offensive line actually isn't that bad. Got a good 5'7" there in Deion Dawkins from Buffalo. And Russell Okung, I guess he's probably not going to see the field. But he does have Caleb McGarry there in the back, so that's nice. That's a plus. It's a pretty young offensive line, so he's drafted well, and he does a ton of draft prep. This guy loves the draft. He does so much work with it. He showed me a little bit of some of the prep that he does, and it's really, really impressive.
I'm pretty sure he traded off like at least 3 quality offensive linemen too this year.
Mm-hmm.
So he had some good depth there.
Sure. So he has an average run defense, and you got Payne there. He's a good young talent at defensive tackle. Let's see what else we got here.
It's tough to play the 4-3 with a 0 middle linebacker like that.
Yeah,
you picked on a lot. Otherwise, it's not all that bad of a team.
Well,
pass rush a little bit here and there, and some ratings here and there.
Yeah, this is obviously not going to be their year, but I like Schobert a lot, and he got out of Jacksonville, so his numbers will pick up as a result. So my hope is that they'll trade Josh Allen, so maybe he'll turn it around too, but that's just me being selfish.
They might just need another coach.
Yeah, be wonder if he survives the season. Poor pass defense, but he does have. Boy, that's interesting. He must barely have a poor pass defense because he has a 5 and a 4, and 4's on the outside.
Well, this is a slot again. The corners.
Well, he got Darius Phillips from me, which is a 4, and
and a 5.
And a 5 plus 4. That's 17. What is it? 20? I think it takes like a 20 basically to get.
He's at 22, and it takes 23 to get to average.
Yeah, and what's hurting that is Joe Schobert in the middle.
Yeah, but he kind of evens out with the other outside backer being a 3, so he needed a 5 at linebacker or 2 4s, or the secondary guys getting a bump to a 5. But I don't think he's got all his picks. I think he wasn't going for it.
But it would have been awful tempting. He's got a good offensive line. He's got Deshaun Watson not knowing full well what his card is going to be next year. I bet he was really conflicted with that because, what's interesting is, it's hard for clubs that you don't know if they're going to go for it next year and picking up a running back when running back shelf lives are so perilous at best. You almost want to let something like that go and maybe pick a skill position player that could stay healthy. And then once you start to compete, maybe pick a running back. But, it's hard to say.
When you're in the bigger leagues, you don't necessarily have to get as many pieces to compete. Mm-hmm. When you got a guy like Deshaun Watson, you're probably already in the top half. Like at least middle of the pack.
Well, so here's hoping that Gibson stays healthy for a couple of seasons until Deshaun Watson can get his act together. I may be reaching on this one here, considering he has a poor pass defense, but because I have Oklahoma with 6 wins and the New York Giants with 6 wins, I think that Detroit is better than those two. And I think they're going to figure out a way to go 500. That might be a little ambitious with a poor pass defense, but because the division they're playing in, I think they've got a chance at 8 wins.
Oh, I don't think that's unreasonable. The bigger the league, the more volatility for sure.
Sure.
With some of these teams that you might consider mediocre.
He's going to have offense. There's no question. He has no help at wide receiver, but he's going to have some really, that 1-2 punch is going to be good for him this year. And plus, he's got a great line on top of that. So yeah, they'll have a hard time making the playoffs. I doubt they will, but they're going to be a tough out. No one's going to look past Detroit. But that poor pass defense is really going to hurt them. And now we go to this clown from Los Angeles. Oh, wait, that's me. And I'm actually talking to the guy who broke my 12-game winning streak and put me in my place. It made me wonder just how good my team was. So that was fun. Plus, the best part was I said, hey, Dennis, put this one on YouTube. I want to watch this. Needless to say, I never watched it.
I don't think you were rolling real great that day, especially when.
No, I got a lesson is what I got. I got a lesson. So anyway, so let's take a look at this club. I am contractually obliged to every year one of these previews come by, I have to stop the broadcast to tell Tom Cook, thank you very much for the advice that you gave me on pushing me to make an extra pick to make sure that Patrick Mahomes was going to be on this club. So thank you, Tom Cook. Also, a special thanks to Bryce Petty, who quarterbacked this club for 2 years into oblivion, which led to the Patrick Mahomes pick. So wherever you are, Bryce Petty, selling insurance someplace, thank you. So Tom was nice enough to say, and I love listening to his draft advice. I needed a running back, and I was fortunate that J.K. Dobbins fell to me at 24. Even though he's hurt, it was too good a card to pass up.
Absolutely.
So
it's not like he's a one-off. I mean,
yeah, we'll wait a couple years. He'll be back.
You look at Gus Edwards, production.
Oh yeah.
People didn't know what he would be, and I drafted him in that same area.
Well, before the season started, I after you made the Brady trade, I thought, I know that you'd kind of talked about Gus Edwards, and I was seriously thinking about talking to you about Gus Edwards, and then he got hurt, and so it's like, oh great, so now neither one of these running backs are going to be there. But Dobbins' card is electric if guessed wrong, and so I finally have a running back that's going to make people call run every once in a while, at least be a little bit honest. I know how I watched how your team worked last year with Brady and Edwards, and you're scared. You want to guess run every once in a while, and that's when you go over the top, and you played that really well. So I'll be excited to play with him on this club this year. And I do have Adrian Peterson. He's got a halfway decent card as well. My wideouts, Ridley has turned into one of the top targets in the NFL this year. Perriman still is a good deep threat. Russell Gage, I picked him up in the 4th round last year, and he's 5 across the middle, so he'll be a nice slot corner option. And Gesicki there at tight end, he's fantastic. He can't block anybody, but he can catch everything. I had to make some trades on my offensive line because I lost both of my tackles who are not listed here, Ronnie Stanley and Taylor Lewan. So I made a trade for Lucas, who's a backup with the Redskins, but that's a decent 4-5. And David Quisenberry, who is having a crazy good year for Tennessee. He's like in the top 10 in PFF. I had no idea that he would be that way. So Joe Sardo, if he winds up in the top 10, I owe you. I'll make it up to you later with a good trade. I got him for a 4th rounder, I believe, with Hamilton, who didn't need him. He already had good tackles. My guards, Kappa and Gabe Jackson. Gabe Jackson's getting old in the tooth, but I do have a Vikings guard named Oliadu, I think his name is, who's actually playing pretty well for them. I picked him up in a supplemental draft a couple of years ago, and I'm excited that he's getting ready to play. On the last day, I made a trade for Malcolm Brown with London. Yeah. And I traded Ruiz, the guard from New Orleans. I hated to get rid of him because I think he's got a lot of talent, and I was lucky that he fell to the 2nd round. But by making that trade for Brown, I elevated my run defense from average to good, which I thought was going to be important. I played with good defense last year, and I don't think I let up 200 points and scored 450. So I think that I've got a good chance to match that this year. So that's fun.
You can't 4-3 with 2-4 defensive tackles. That's
right
for trouble.
I didn't have much of a choice there because Eddie Goldman sat out the entire year. So
you're going to make a trade at least,
Yep.
So because you got Mahomes and you got Dobbins. That's the kind of trade that
correct.
You almost have to make.
Last day. It was the last day. I like last day bargain hunting. That's pretty fun. Next year, maybe we go back to the 3-4. But the nice thing about getting Brown is he's actually playing defensive end because the Jaguars are in a 3-4. He's not playing great this year, but he'll be a defensive end next year. So I could kind of move him out if Goldman starts to play well. He's off to a slow start. Had to make some other trades for inside linebacker because McKinley's hurt, and now he's not even on a roster this year, but he's playing okay for Texas. Josh Allen, Chubb is hurt. Hopefully he comes back. Allen is actually doing okay, not great this year, but he won't see the field this year. Made a trade for Eric Wilson, so that helped elevate my pass defense to good. That was a trade I made in like the last 2 weeks for Chandron Sullivan. Malcolm Butler is a 5, got Marlon Humphrey as a 6, and then 5 free and 4, 5 strong and 4 free. So I wasn't real thrilled with that. But I'm probably going to play a lot of 3-2-6 and get that Kyle Duggar on the field. That 4-5, I kind of like that run stopper. So anyway, I'm going to watch some of the videos that you had where you played your 3-2-6 and probably learn a little bit about that.
I was running the 4-1-6, so I was running the 4-1-6.
Right. I'm sorry. It's 4-1-6. Yeah. Just I'm not used to playing with that many defensive backs, but it kind of invites the run. But if you've got some decent run stoppers in those boxes, that linebacker containment, you can do it. It's just never done it.
The poor running teams, or the teams that rely extremely heavily on the flat pass.
Yes.
It can be a little more effective, especially if they're not taking many shots, which if you're a super heavy, 80% of the time throwing flats, you're counting on consistent 5 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards.
Right.
So you're not really taking a lot of shots because it kind of kills that a little bit, gives you one less down to get 5 yards if you throw an incompletion.
Okay. All right. So this club, I didn't show the divisions. Let's show this here real quick. So my Los Angeles Rams, I've been in the league this is my 6th season. This was the first year that I made it to the playoffs, and I was lucky enough to get a bye. I was 13-3 last year, but I got bounced by the Dallas Cowboys in my first ever playoff game. Where is that? There it is. Yeah, I was bounced big time, 31-10. We're still in the AFC, so we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Rams, St. Louis Cardinals, Jets, Oilers, which is in their 2nd season, and Hamilton Tiger Cats. So I put myself down for 12 this year. Hopefully.
I think that's very, very reasonable.
Hopefully we can get there.
You don't have a lot of glaring weaknesses. Everything is at least, decent at worst. And, with Dobbins and Mahomes, that's the ultimate, guess right, guess wrong. And even with Mahomes, guess right, it doesn't matter a lot of the time. So you're probably going to see a lot of drastic things.
Yeah, I played a Tim Bowler in Samifa yesterday, and he has Mahomes. So that's the first time I got a chance to see that. Plus, he has Miles Sanders. Yeah. So it was the first time I saw a crazy 1-2 combination like that. It was
Sanders is nothing compared to Dobbins, though.
No question. Sanders' linebacker card is pretty crazy, but not like Dobbins. Your end run guess wrong is 13 yards. So
he's got 18 short gains or better, I believe.
Yeah, it'll be fun because I haven't played with this team, so your first 4 games are basically just a light jog and trying to figure out what this team can do and what other team what can't do. But I almost feel like there's a lot of firepower in here, and even a mediocre coach like me can't screw it up too bad. So let's go to the third. Oh, wow. Look at that excellent run defense. Let's go to the third franchise that joined our club last year, and he is our resident design extraordinaire, Ken Briere. And he, last year, as a rookie franchise, could not make trades. I can tell you this. His spreadsheet's going to have a lot of purple on it. He decided this year to make a ton of trades.
I almost had several deals with him, too.
Yeah, lots and lots of trades.
He already moved too many pieces for what he wanted. I knew I could get a little better, so couldn't make anything happen. But
so let's take a look at his club here, basically. So one of his trades, his biggest trade, I guess, would have been for quarterback with Jared Goff, which is an upgrade from Marcus Mariota. I have him in Somifa, and people are going to be surprised when they play me. I'm actually playing Tua over him. Tua's card isn't better, but Goff, not only his interceptions aren't that much better than Tua, or that much worse than Tua. It's just he fumbles the ball so much. I watched this team. I'm a huge Rams fan, and I watched him play last year, and I was done with him. He was a turnover machine.
Well, that's true. I was hoping that they would go with the backup in the playoffs.
Me too. I agree. I agree.
It was very irritating.
I hope I don't root against him. I hope he does well in Detroit. I really do, but I couldn't be more happy with Stafford. Good grief. This team was wanting to win, and you have to give up that price to get him. So, let's go for it.
I went to the Tampa Bay game a couple weeks ago. I was on vacation, and it was awesome. Stafford killed it.
Oh, yeah. He totally did. All right. They'll be there at the end. I don't think there's any question they'll be there at the end. So, Vieira wants to be known more for his coaching than his graphic design, and so he's made a lot of moves before this season. So he's got Jared Goff under center. He also made a trade for Melvin Gordon. I've played Stock League with him. His card is not that bad, actually. And Elliott's card is pretty much the same every year. It's not going to be dominating. He's just going to get yards. He's just a grinder. Doesn't scare you.
Well, Goff will be a lot more effective if he's running those guys a lot. He has the carries, so
yes,
that's how you can win with a guy like Goff, who doesn't necessarily, beat you. Otherwise, he's not going to beat you like you'd use someone like Brady or Mahomes or whatever. But with an excellent run defense, being able to run the ball, a couple of good receiving options, I mean, it could definitely be a good offense. He's got good weapons.
He also got some help here for Goff in, he's good as, I guess he'll have Lamb and Adams, and then in third down situations, bring in Marvin Jones, but he's got 2 deep threats. So, on those times that you're getting sick of continually calling pass and watching those guys gash you for 5-6 yards a carry, then he's going to go over the top with 2 guys who can beat you deep. There's actually 3 guys on his club that can beat you deep. So that's a nice little collection there. And he also has Travis Kelce as well. Boy, this team looks really good. He's got a lot of good talent on it. So let's see what his line looks like, see if that helps him too. Well, that looks pretty good. Okay, center. Good guard there. 2 good guards, 6-run guard and a 5-run guard with 7 and 5. The pass. He made a trade to get a little bit of help there at offensive tackle, which I guess I don't know why he did it. He didn't need it. Consider he's got a 6'4" and a 6'7" on the outside. Is he maybe using that guy for a guard? Yeah, maybe that's what no, he wouldn't be doing that either. Maybe he just wanted him. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he had a trade in mind to get rid of one of these other guys and it never happened, but that guy's never going to see the field. But that's a very good line. And he has an excellent run defense. Let's see what he's got. So he's going to go 3-4. So he's got a nose tackle 5. He must have some 6s on the outside.
Yeah, he's got Leonard
Williams. Who's an asterisk pass rusher 2. And then 3-4. So his entire linebacker set, inside linebacker set, is brand new. And it's interesting. He made trades for 3 of them, but only 2 of them are going to see the field. But whatever. And then from the outside, I'll tell you what, from a talent perspective, this club looks really good. It's got 3 maxed out pass rushers, basically 12 with some asterisks. They're your 6 and 2 and 2. And, he's got Jalen Smith to help him on first down. I'm sure he's playing first down, and then he's got Hassan Reddick basically trotting off the bench in second and third down when he goes to 3-3-5. And then his corner, he's got a corner 6 and a corner 4 and 2 5s. Yikes. This team is loaded. I have him at 10. This is looking more like an 11-win team to me. From a talent perspective, this club is really strong. Of course, it just has an average pass defense. So that's not going to help him a great deal, but he's got.
Yeah, but in this set, I mean, I kind of scanned through real quick. I don't think there's more than 5 to 7 teams that are good on the pass.
Well, and to me, what makes up for it is he's got 3 top-notch pass rushers too.
Yeah, it's definitely offensively and defensively if he plays to the strengths of the team, can do well. You can if you get your blitzers in at the right times, and maybe even I would show blitz when you're allowed to. In this league, you're not allowed to on first. but second, third down, maybe show it a lot and bring it. Especially in a 30-man league, there's going to be a lot of good opportunities.
Yep.
And then same thing on the other side. You got all those sixes on the line and a five or whatever with a couple backs with a ton of carries. Every one of your skill position guys look pretty good. So whatever you do, if you're doing it guessed wrong, you should be successful.
Yeah, you're right. And the division, the rest of it, we'll go over them here in just a little bit. It's the Cardinals, the Jets, and the Tiger Cats. And we'll see here in just a moment, but those 2-3 teams, I don't have any of them going 500, so it's possible he could clean sweep all of those, go 5-1, maybe even 6-0 against those clubs.
Goff will definitely cost him some games if he's fumbling. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I assume it's high based on having watched their games.
That's the only chink in this team's armor.
And it looks like to me, I just did a quick look through the trades. It looks like he had a lot of trades where he was making moves like trading off Costanzo, and he got a middle linebacker, the Jason Peters thrown in with a middle linebacker. So I think a lot of that excess that you see he's traded for was just to sort of balance out some trades he was making.
That makes sense. All right, so let's go to Hamilton. 0-16 last year, and I know that you know this team pretty well.
Was he 0-16?
Huh?
Was he 0-16? I didn't know that.
Yeah, didn't win a game.
Yeah, no, I made him a big trade.
Yes, you did.
Thought he might like it, and I definitely just figured I'd make a strong offer as I was willing to do, and if he was willing to trade, then he might take it.
Yep. And let's take a look here and see what else is purple, because a lot of that purple came from you. Well, there's Cooper Kupp. He got him from London, but there's.
And I think that was a good price for him. I think he paid like a second rounder.
Oh yeah.
Future second, and at the time the price seemed reasonable, but now it seems like a little bit of a better deal for Hamilton, I'd say.
5 games in, it certainly does, but
receivers are very tough to trade. So even then,
without trades, this 30-team league, it's almost impossible to build it through the draft unless you just happen to accumulate a lot of draft picks, and it's just going to take a while for this to grow. And Hamilton, Joe Sardo is the coach. It's been a few years since he's been in the playoffs, and I think he just decided, you know what, I would rather field a team that's going to be fun to play with, and maybe in a couple of years, these guys aren't too old, and I can continue to build around them. I don't think he's going to be somebody who's going to be getting people through the draft. I think he's going to basically look to make some more trades and just try to get better quicker. Because while he made these deals, offensively, he's obviously going to be way better than he was last year, but he still fields a defense that's very poor, so he'll get gashed on the run just about every play, and his pass defense is poor as well. But I could tell you this, no matter what record he's going to have way more fun than he had last year.
I also wasn't sure how people felt about Herbert. I was like, I've never since Mahomes anyway, at least after, but that was after a season. That was after the spring. I haven't felt that good about a quarterback ever. So
I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I believe he's going to be the class.
Watching these first 5-6 games, I'm already thrilled. So
yeah, you should be. I think that was the right pick. I don't think there was any question in your mind that was going to be the pick.
Oh yeah,
over Burrow.
The pick, but that was no question who I was going to pick. Just the fact that I was willing to trade quite a bit, and I would have traded quite a bit in Somiva too, but Joe wouldn't even entertain offers. So
right. So he got the right price basically for him, and so he's upgraded his team with the surefire Hall of Famer Tom Brady. His card is quality this year. Eckler's got a decent run card. And he also picked up James Robinson. That's the trade that he made at 19 for Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, which, that's a good trade. Trading for a first-round pick. And James Robinson, I don't understand what in the hell is going on with Jacksonville that, I mean, James Robinson looked phenomenal to me last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they go out and they draft a running back. Was it the first round or the early second?
Then you bring in Carlos Hyde.
No, the guy in Jacksonville that got hurt for the season. I think they drafted him like in the late first.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, why? I mean, draft a guy in the second or third round if you want to add a back. I don't understand. Like, James Robinson's a good player. And, you know, it seemed like they just didn't care about him. And so he was going a little later than he probably would have. Although this is fairly early, especially when he got the time of year. But I'm probably sure that he's glad he did because he's having a good year again. With
yes,
that
he
now.
is.
He's a good player. I don't understand
what
the deal is, why they felt like they had to go add another guy that highly when they've got so many other needs.
Yeah, I think everybody's questioning everything that head coach is doing, and I don't think it'll be too long before he's swept out of there, and they just have to hit the reset button again. But
stuff that he's already saying that Lawrence doesn't like to do QB sneaks, and the guy just, I mean, I don't watch much college football, but so far I am very unimpressed with what's going on. Not following him that closely, but enough to just wonder about a lot of things.
Right. Yep.
I was talking about the other day that their goal is to run for 250 yards a game and pass for 250 yards a game. It's like, are you out of your mind? If you run for 250 yards a game, you'd be lucky to pass for 100 yards in a game. You got to just run for 250 yards in the NFL.
Yeah, it's
like saying our goal is to score 70 points a game. Yeah, okay, well, I guess me too, but you know.
Yeah. I think he thinks he's still in college football, and it's Ohio State playing Rutgers. Yeah, it's a mess. But you know, what's interesting about that, gosh, I'm just blanking on that dude's name that Jacksonville picked up. Travis Etienne. That's him.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I'm in multiple leagues, and the drafts take place at like different times. Well, I think our Strat 28 draft was first, and James Robinson went like pick 45 because people thought, well, he's not going to play. He's just a flash in the pan. And then every draft that I had after that, he kept going higher and higher and higher. So, but I think to fall.
He went pretty late for me, but I came up and got him because, well, hell, I mean, he's a good player and he's got a good card and I could use him. So
I'll tell you what.
Or no, Frozen Tundra, sorry.
Had he made it to 24, I probably would have picked him over Dobbins, which would be, I know that sounds crazy considering the cards are different, but I really liked him. I watched a lot of tape on him.
You liked his future. I liked him a lot. I played fantasy football. I picked him up week 1 and the guy dominated for me. I watched a lot of him. He's a really good back.
So you got 2 good running backs there. You've got, let's see what we got here. So wideouts. He also picked up Claypool from the Steelers with another first-round pick that he had because he exchanged that with you.
Yeah, that was part of the trade.
Yeah, and then Cooper Kupp. So that's a nice 1-2 combination there. That's pretty. And
he's a 4 blocker, which you don't see very often.
Yes,
nice because he's also going to be the goal line receiver for in your full house. So that'll be a 5. Or does he go up? Does he go up like the linemen do?
I don't know. Where is Dennis Crowley when you need him, right?
I know that. I mean, the blocking backs and the tight ends go up, so I don't know. Maybe he goes up. Either way, it's cool.
Oh yeah, I just adore that guy. I really do. He's got a great center that was drafted, not through trade, at 6'7". That's always beautiful to have right up the middle. He made a trade for, I guess with you must have thrown that in. There's your guard, a 5'7". There's an offensive tackle, 5'7". This team is going to score points. No question. This team is going to score points, but they're just not going to be able to literally stop anybody.
Yeah, I thought we would have done a little more to pick up some ratings on the defense. I didn't know he was going to end up very 4-4.
Yeah. Just 4s and 0s here and there.
The corners.
So he's doing 3-4. So he's going to have 4-4-4 across the front. And then, see, there's this problem. His outside linebackers are 0s, straight up 0s. inside linebacker is a 4-3 and a 5-4. So I guess that's how you get to a very poor.
Double team really well. He's going to have to flood flats and leave. He's going to have to leave the 5 safety back a lot. He's going to have to occasionally, I suppose, if the guys are just picking on those corners, blitz everyone because he really doesn't have much strength anywhere except for at safety.
Right.
Defense.
Yeah, he's going to have 2 corner zeros. So I'm surprised this pass isn't very poor. That is surprising to me. He's got
the 2 5s. That's probably boosting him. And he's got another one on the inside. So
there's the 5. I'm sorry, I thought that was a 3. You're right. So he has strong and free 5s and then boundary corners 3. So yeah, he'll win games. I have him at 4+. I have him with a potential of 5. So I think he'll trade punches with the Cardinals and the Jets. He might be able to sweep one of those 2 series.
Who's in his division? Who's in his division?
So we've got Los Angeles, the Oilers, who have a hard time beating those 2 teams. But he also has the Jets and the Cardinals, and I have both of them about 6 wins, basically. So he can trade off with those 2 teams.
He can definitely compete for a playoff spot just on the strength of the offense, and it really is amazing what a 5 or 6 safety can do for a mediocre defense.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, well, I have him at a 4+ or 5, and I think eventually
more like 500 team.
Okay, all right. I'd love to see that. I hope, like anything, he gets to that point.
Running back. I think I've said this before. I think running back in Strat is probably more important than even quarterback, as far as if you have a bad one. You can get by with a lot of mediocre quarterbacks if you have good running backs, versus the other way around. It seems to be very difficult to just dominate with nothing but passing.
That's a good point.
And I like passing a lot. So.
Oh, sure. But this is, it's not a true representation of football because, it is a 50-50 game. And you got to have that balance with run and pass where it's becoming less and less important.
Everyone's calling pass, and you're going to see triple doubles, and you're going to see some teams will blitz, although in this league probably not as often without a couple of other things in there, without the dump off, without the being able to show blitz on first. So, but we have the 6 linebacker rule, at least I think still.
Yeah, we do. Not a lot of new rules in this, basically. Yep. So, New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, top 5 quarterback card. Running back, he made a trade for Dion Lewis, but Leonard Fournette probably will be that lead. Probably be the lead running back, although he doesn't really have anybody with 100 carries, so that'll be running back.
I don't think Lewis has a very good card, does he?
No, I don't believe so, but he probably picked him up because he needed a kick returner.
Oh, I see. That's a low carry guy anyway. 29. I was looking at 115. I say because I have Dion Lewis, I think I would have looked at the card at least. Yeah,
we're taking Dion Lewis from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was a good card.
Yeah, yeah. He was a strat.
He's got 3 guys that are going to get a lot of carries for him. 3 separate low carries.
He was a strat sweetheart for quite some time. So he's got a pretty decent collection of wideouts here. Hollywood Brown. He's got Mooney from the Bears.
He got drafted kind of high there, but I actually like him. Probably wouldn't have drafted him quite there, but sometimes you don't take a guy, you're not going to get the guy. So
right.
You obviously liked him too.
It's a reach at 2, considering he wasn't drafted that high in real life, and plus you've got a Bears club with 2 guys that can't really shoot straight, but he's getting a pretty decent amount of catches this year.
Well, I also took a guy in this draft, probably a lot higher than he went in any league, in Blackman, Julian Blackman.
Okay.
I knew I wouldn't get him if I didn't take him there, so I was happy to do it.
He's got one solid tight end there in Hayden Hurst. And some other guys there. Let's see what his line looks like.
Richard Rodgers, I think, has a good card.
Who's that?
The tight end, Richard Rodgers. He can also play blocking back, as well as Hayden Hurst. They both can. That Richard Rodgers card, I think, might have
Wow.
I think it has a lot of yards on it.
14 yards per carry, or excuse me, per catch.
Yeah, I think looking at the Strat guide or the one that they purchased for us, that he had a lot of yards on that card.
Now, one thing St. Louis has is a pretty decent offensive line with 4s and 5s, 3 5s on that offensive line, and good pass protection, nothing less than a 5 and a 7 on the outside. So that's a plus. So Rodgers will stay upright. He's just going to be throwing the ball a lot, considering he doesn't have a great running attack. Let's see.
Well,
so average run defense, poor pass. So he'll play 4-3. He made a trade for Sheldon Richardson, who is a 5. He doesn't have a 5 on the outside. Doesn't really have a lot of pass rush here. He has an 8 and a 7 on the outside. He made, let's see, that was a draft pick there. That's Alex Singleton. He picked him up in the 3rd round, but he won't see the field, I don't think. He'll probably play those 2, 3, 5s. It's got the great Josie Jewell.
If he plays, I don't know how he's going to play it, but I would assume he'd have Hayden Hurst as a 0-5 blocking back. Having a guy that you can actually throw to when you've got a guy like Aaron Rodgers that cannot be double teamed by linebackers, really, really nice.
Yep. And I know they toned down the blocking backs this year. It seemed like anybody who could play tight end last year could play blocking back, but they made, I think, and rightly so, a significant change to the blocking back rule. So it's not a given that everybody's a tight end is going to be a blocking back, but I'm sure he'll take advantage of that. Secondary.
0-5, he definitely had to play.
Yeah.
So, I've been looking through some of these, and these teams, they put these guys in positions all the time trying to get these matchups. And I wouldn't be surprised to see more and more blocking back ratings for the tight ends because they run them out of there because it's hard for the linebackers, to cover. And sometimes they're relying on a linebacker to read that he's coming to their side and that he's their guy, especially if he just comes right up the middle or he does like a left and then a right. The guy on the right side might just not think he even has him.
Yep.
Well, Shanahan in particular, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised to see Kittle with a blocking back rating one day.
Yeah. All right. Secondary just basically full of 4s. Nothing there spectacular. So solid offense, poor pass defense. I have him at a 6. I think his offense is not quite as good as Hamilton's. I guess I think both these two are going to be fighting for. It'll be a 3-horse race for 3rd place. I don't know between Hamilton. I basically have them at 6. I basically have them at 6 wins. Let's see. The last one here is the St. Louis Cardinals.
St. Louis Cardinals.
All right. So he decided for his 1st-round pick to take Jalen Hurts.
Looks like a good move.
And well, he's got the Eagles' backfield, basically. He's got Hurts, and he's got Miles Sanders, so he'll have fun with that. Let's see what he's got for wideouts. I love Tyler Lockett. I do.
That Tyron Johnson card's got a lot of yards on it, too. Yeah, in fact, they made him the split end, so he's got more yards than anyone on the team, it looks like. That is the side, right? The split end.
Hmm?
But the number 1, the guy with the most yards.
Tyler Johnson, you were saying, right?
Tyron Johnson. I was just trying to remember if it was the flanker or the split end. Must be. I think it must be the split end.
Yeah, 3 5 deep, basically 19 yard per catch average. That looks like the 80s. Tight end. Let's see what he's got here. Nothing really fancy there. Look at his line. 5'5". Not a lot of good stuff there at guard, but he does have 5 blockers. Tackle's going to be a mess. Unless, let's see, maybe he'll move Jesse Davis. I guess that's probably what he'll do. He'll move Jesse Davis to tackle, I think. He's a 0-5 guard, so I guess he'll move him to tackle and play him with a tackle that Oniesu, whoever that is from New England. I think actually he's playing guard this year for New England, not tackle. I might be wrong. Average run, poor against the pass. He's got Chris Jones. There's just 6 right there in the middle. So that's nice. He's playing 4-3, so he'll pair him up with that 4. He made a trade for Jonathan Hankins. Outside, got another 6 there, Derek Wolfe. And 4 on the outside as well. No real pass rush here, just 4s in the linebackers, secondary. Made a trade for Rodney McLeod, who I think was traded to 5 different teams, it seemed like, in the offseason. I may have been seeing things, but I thought he made his way from team to team to team. Jordan Whitehead, there's a 4. He doesn't have anybody else rated at cornerback. Got Chantarius Ward as a 4. I keep pressing the wrong button here instead of dragging this handle down. I've done it 4 times now. Hold on just 1 second. I completely went off the wrong team. I pressed way off the wrong button. Like I said, I'm so used to using my iPad. I don't think you can StreamYard with your iPad. Anyway, he's got only 1 corner 4. And he'll just have to get one of these extra DBs. Well, it looks like he's got Thornhill. I didn't realize he was just moved to a DB for Kansas City.
Yeah.
Yeah. He lost his starting role, but they still gave him a 4. That's surprising. I don't think he had that good a year, but I guess he'll turn himself into a cornerback this year. A make-believe cornerback.
Well, he'll still be a 0, though. The DBs go down.
They do. You're right. You're right. You are right.
But when they implemented the slot and they did that, they may treat them like slot corners when they're on the boundary.
Well, then that's what they'll do. He'll put a 0 on the boundary and put him as a slot.
He'll be the nickel back, and he'll use one of the other guys to play corner.
Yeah, this team's going to struggle. Hurts's pass card isn't great, but he does have Miles, and he does have a good offensive line. I just put that this is the group of 6, but I did put a minus next to him, so I thought he has a potential for probably 5 wins. Do you see anything on here that sticks out aside from Hurts? You like him?
Well, I mean, it was pretty brave, I think, for how I felt about him going into the season to take him in the middle of the round. But it looks like he could really pay out for him going forward. I don't think he's got a real good card, though, this year.
No. But I think it's kind of like what you said. Sometimes you make a reach for somebody, and
he definitely wasn't going to get him in the second round. I mean,
you're right. So he'd have to figure out a way to get into the first round again, and he thought he probably won't be around.
I feel good having made that pick,
right?
With how it turned out, because you definitely were saying something about him when you took him, in the first round or fairly early in the first round for where he went compared to a lot of other drafts.
I didn't see who he picked in the second round. There he is.
That was the lineman for New England on winning. He's supposed to be pretty good.
And then Khalil Davis on 3rd. So, yeah, they'll just have to keep their fingers crossed that Sanders can stay healthy in time for either Hurts to develop or till they can get another quarterback. He's got a good line. I've given him 6 wins, maybe 5. They'll have a hard time matching up with Houston and Los Angeles, and they'll probably just trade punches with Hamilton and the New York Jets. So, well, I tell you what, I've gone through 15 now, and it's pushing on midnight here on East. So I may shut this down for now and maybe go back tomorrow and do the same time and see if anybody wants to join me at 10 and we can do the NFC. So, and plus, you know what I've got to do? I just thought about this. I haven't turned in my roster for Autumn Wind. I still have to send that to him.
Better hustle.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I want to miss the midnight deadline. Somebody else is going to take over my team or get kicked out. Yep. Well, I didn't see if anybody else had joined. I know that Dave was here for a while. I heard him, but he never joined us. So, but we'll pick it up again tomorrow. I'll send another invite. So if you want to join, please come on back.
All right. Talk to you
later.
All
right, man. It's good to see you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Yep. See ya.
All righty. Well, we're going to go ahead and shut her down for now. So this is the first half of the Autumn Wind 2021 preview. We just did the AFC tonight, and we will pick up with the NFC tomorrow. So I'll put this up on YouTube for everybody to see, or I might be able to splice them together. We'll see, or maybe we'll split these things up. So sorry I couldn't finish this thing in 4 hours, but I was really glad that Nathan joined, and I know that Dave was listening, and I see here where Butch was on. Butch, I'm sorry that we didn't get you in there, but I'm glad you were listening. And we will pick up with you, the New Orleans Voodoo, and the other 14 irrelevant teams that don't hold a candle to the Voodoo, right, Butch? But thanks for joining. I appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this broadcast. So thanks for sticking around, everybody. Good luck to everybody in the AFC. Tomorrow, we're going to go over the NFC. So thank you for joining me. And we look forward to some great season this year in Autumn Wind, some great broadcasts. So thanks for joining us. God bless everyone. Stay safe. Have a good night.